of the box. Mainly, I see John Hancock insurance policy. The most policy that's selling for John Hancock is John Hancock LTC. Is that they are only specialized in long-term care? They don't sell any other policies?
No, they do. They sell term. They won't be the cheapest when you do a comparison, but they do term. They do IUL, UL, VUL. They do everything. The reason why you're seeing a large influx of a universal life or an IUL with a long-term care rider, correct?
Yes.
Is because there's only a few carriers that offer the long-term care rider like John Hancock does. If you've done the underwriting with John Hancock, you will see that when you get an approval, you get two approvals with John Hancock and Nationwide. They're the two that underwrite their long-term care rider separately than the life insurance portion. So it's all, it's a true long-term care. It's not just a rider. It's an actual long-term care policy built into the policy. So why you're seeing that is because there's really the only two. I think there's one more carrier that some carriers like Prudential, they have a rider, but it's not anything like the Hancock or the Nationwide long-term care rider. So you could get on your long-term care, on your life case, you could get preferred best, preferred, and then you could be the highest that you can get on a long-term care rider with John Hancock and Nationwide is a table D, which is equivalent to a 4. So if you were to count on your fingers, 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C. You understand how I'm doing it?
Yes.
So you'll see sometimes some carriers, they'll just say table 4, non-smoker. Well, that's equivalent to a table C. John Hancock, they don't do that. They do percentages. They'll do 150 to 175, 200%, whatever the situation is. But for the LTC rider, the highest rating that you can get is a table D or a 4. If you get anything higher than that, then it's a decline for the long-term care rider. So you could have an approval, prefer best on the life aspect and be a decline on the long-term care rider aspect. I actually had one case yesterday where it was that. The insured got a standard non-smoker for the life and got a decline on the long-term care rider with Nationwide. And the reason why is they're looked at two different ways. The underwriting aspect, is looked at as your life expectancy, your long-term care. Your long-term viewing. Long-term care it's looked differently. Well, the reason why she was declined is because of her history of osteoporosis. Well, osteoporosis is not going to kill you, in 10, 20 years.
Degenerative disease.
Exactly. So that's why they declined her for the long-term care rider, because she is more applicable to get injured if you have a long-term care rider policy than a life policy. You can be injured and still get a life insurance policy. But if you're getting a long-term care rider and you have osteoporosis or something that makes you that you cannot walk and function or do your daily activities, then that's a whole different ball of wax. They're looked at in two different views. So because of that, that's why you get two offers. So again, the life and the long-term care. Now, like I was telling you, some carriers just have a rider and it's nothing. It's part of the policy. It's like a waiver premium or accelerated death benefit. It's nothing fancy. Where John Hancock and Nationwide, their long-term care rider is an actual long-term care policy in the life policy. So that's why you're seeing a lot of those. Is because they're a true long-term care policy in a policy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. How are you doing, Kelsey?
I'm good. I've not gotten to do anything yet. I've not worked in this yet, so like long-term care, all this is completely brand new to me, so I've not seen any of it yet.
Okay. Well, you will, because it's definitely, you're going to see it's like the business shifts. All of a sudden, you'll get like a bunch of banner term applications. And then all of a sudden, you'll get a bunch of IUL applications, Index Universal Life. And then you start getting these, you know, UL or whatever, or IUL. It's a permanent policy. You cannot get a long-term care rider on a term policy with the long-term care rider. That's been the big thing for the last, I would say, probably 2 years. And as you'll see here, the carriers, only Nationwide has the actual long-term care rider. All the rest of them just have a chronic illness rider. It's not like how Hancock, the long-term care guide, long-term care guide. They all just have this chronic illness rider, which is just, if you were to put the two benefits up to each other, a long-term care rider and the chronic illness, they're like day and night. You know, what they cover and what they don't cover is it's better off for the long-term care rider than the chronic illness rider. It's kind of like buying, you know, a name brand to something that is generic. You know what I mean? You know what? I can't use that analogy because some generic stuff is just as good as name brand stuff. They just put a fancy label on it, right? And that's not the situation here. This is actually, it's like the premier top grade, you know, the long-term care rider policy has, you know, all the things that you would need if you wanted just a long-term care policy. Okay? So thank you, Dharma, for bringing that up. We'll go over those more. We're going to talk about all kinds of riders and stuff. It's in one of our other meetings. Because there's all kinds of, there's child rider, we have a premium. There's all kinds of different things that you can do. There's some policies have a conversion rider and all kinds of fancy stuff. But carriers are always constantly thinking, reprocessing the wheel to make it so that you would want to use their product and their policy. So that's why you always see shifts of business from one carrier to another. You'll get abundance of one from the other. So each of the carriers have field underwriting guidelines. And basically, this is the nuts and bolts of everything. You know, when I told you it would be great when we talked about one of our first meetings if agents did field underwriting? Well, this is field underwriting, but this is like field underwriting on steroids. This has got everything. It's got the bills and all this. I don't expect an agent to know all of the stuff that's in this guide. This guide is like 56 pages. What I would like, and I knew I was going to share something with you guys. Let me see what I did with